focusing. Obviously, Varus, their first ban. Red side having to take away the Vi. Could potentially also leave up a Nefiri if they really choose to.
Yeah, I do wonder if we're going to see even like a Pantheon ban come through, because Tian has played so much of it so far. He's played it 9 times, his most played champion. Obviously has a really sick pairing with Talia, who's had a crazy high win rate as well.
All right, FPX, so what are you banning? Are you going to ban Nefiri or are you going to ban Talia? I feel like getting rid of Talia might be more worth it for you. I feel like getting rid of Xiaohu's most played champion, the best champion on the patch right now in mid lane, feels like the right answer. But I could see them making an argument that we're probably not getting access to Nefiri. So they're going to instead degree and just get rid of that. So I'm assuming that this is going to be either a Pantheon or a Nefiri for Tian.
Right, and then it really pretty much just confirms what Xiaohu will play, right? If they go Pantheon, he's probably going to play Ahri if it's not already picked up. And then if they go Nefiri, he'll probably end up picking the Ryze. I mean, if I'm FPX, I think I'm early picking my bot lane here and just going, you know, going with Nico and like Kalista and just calling it a day. I don't care.
Okay. Wow, we're going for the Gwen already. This champion has been getting nerfed, and I think with getting rid of the Rumble and the Scion, I think it kind of does make a little bit of sense there. You are worried about potentially playing against a Jace in top lane, so I think you have to be a little bit careful there. And now with FPX taking Jwei and his Nico, getting the Pantheon, playing side lanes is a little trickier, especially around the map. So we'll see how FPX are able to kind of pilot this one. Weibo, I think you still have to pick up an AD jungler. I think you're still having the options of like the Xin Zhao. It just gives you strong skirmishing no matter what your mid lane pick here is. I wonder if Weibo are going to instead opt to just pick support here, or maybe just grab AD carry. I feel like you don't really want to get pinched here, and you know that Xiaohu has at least a few champions he can rely on, whereas you don't feel like you feel the same way about Care.
Yeah, it is worrisome that he could lose 2 of his best options. It feels like an Ahri or a Galio would be really good. So if they just get banned away, you know, you'll be a little upset by that, but maybe not, as they just go and lock in the Ryze.
All right. Xiaohu's going to pick up his Ryze. Side lane is going to be a very, very important part of this game already when you have a Gwen and a Ryze going on. I wonder how much more FPX are going to try to cheat map play here. You can try to just pick up a couple other champions. They're going to be able to move very quickly. Aurora, very good for the lane. And if we're talking about FPX having to play, I think that a very important part of this is going to have to be them smashing Weibo in the early game. Make sure that they are uncomfortable coming into the mid-game section here. So we'll see what Shadow and Care can do. Big components of their team when it comes to success. As we get into the back end of this draft, AD Care is going to be quite pinched here.
Yeah, and FPX already taking out the Lucian. They're going after these strong AD carries because I think Weibo, they're going to put a big priority on Grubs this game, right? We're going to see Gwen, we're going to see Ryze really do stuff in the side lane, as you just mentioned. So, hey, take out some of these strong things that can, you know, fight through a Nico in the bot lane.
Why was there an Annie ban? Are they thinking that this is Aurora top lane? I mean,
okay.
Into Gwen, I don't think it's that bad, but typically when we've seen AP answers, I think that in the LCK they've been choosing a lot of Kennen. So feels a little strange to see the Annie, unless they think that there's like some weird flex. I don't know. I feel like this should just be, you're looking at supports. Annie support has not been at all very popular in pro play. It has almost exclusively been played in mid lane. So I think maybe either a misban or I just don't understand the strategy. So now I feel like if you're FPX, you can say, okay, there's 2 options. We can have Kai'Sa, we can take Ezreal here as well, try to play range. If you're going to be in the hands of Awesome, even MF I think works here. You're sure you're playing in a Crescent Guard, but still.
Yeah, he's still been solid on that champion, but it just feels like Kai'Sa makes the most sense. The only issue you run into that is, you know, there are still bot lanes available that Weibo could play to take advantage of how weak a Kai'Sa is early. We are going to see Isaiah come through, which means Rakan will be the follow-up to tie the room together for teamfights.
I'm a little worried here because now you have a losing lane in mid. You have a losing lane in bottom lane, especially with this double ranged coming on through. Maybe there's some spicy stuff that we can see coming out from Light and Hung, but again, this is one of Hung's first games coming off of a full month's break here for the rest of the roster. Yeah, I guess they had the right read. They thought that this Aurora was going to go top lane. Sheer is going to be playing it. Again, they took Gwen's HP down in scaling lanes, so I think maybe just doing a little bit more damage there. There is so much burst coming in from FPX. If Weibo can get to maybe 2 items, we get to a point at 20 minutes where Tian and Xiaohu are very tanky, but if you can just get around that by blowing up the rest of this team, I think that FPX are in a really strong state to actually pressure Weibo.
Yeah, while they do have the strength of Pantheon Ahri, do remember that Ahri generally struggles a little bit into the Rise. So we'll see if that impact is mitigated a little bit early on, especially for a team that we really are like, hey, FPX needs to get the ball rolling. They need Shadow to do a whole lot. I think Kara is going to have a big hand into trying to help him out, get them off the ground, get this early lead, and then make sure, again, you at least take a couple of these grubs away. Make sure you can't get split on.
Playing side lane should be a lot easier coming in for Weibo, and I want to see them prioritize getting grubs. Grubs changed, obviously, from a couple of weeks ago, but still very strong, especially when you have a Gwen and a Ryze. They're going to be so powerful, but it is going to come down to Tian and Hung. When we talk about these two teams, jungle support always a very big part of the game, especially here in pro play, but if these side lanes actually want to get anything done there, they need vision. They need to know where Pantheon is going to be, where he's not going to be. They need to be keeping track of this support in the Nico, because she can be very, very slippery around the map and misplays, especially with the clones. So Weibo need to be on top of vision, and I just think they're going to be losing out on mid control very easily in the mid game.
Yeah, it will become problematic, mostly because you have to fear kind of the all-in engage coming through for FPX. If you step up a little too far, we head on to Summoner's Rift, game 1 of this best-of-3 series between Weibo and FPX.
Wow.
Yeah, that was tough.
That was tough. It's okay. Low-key, they've been getting a little softer as the series as the month has gone by. You know, we're getting to the end of regular season. Again, almost 50 days in a row of games played. I think it's fair, you know, let them cool off for a little bit. There'll be a 2-day break between the end of regular season and playoffs starting, and then we'll have a single best of 5 almost every single day, if I'm correct. So, going to be very exciting. And taking a look, both junglers seeming to start on opposite sides. Weibo a little bit afraid of some of the level 1 shenanigans that could go on here, but big focus is going to come down to what Hung is going to do here as the kind of re-entering into the lineup.
Yeah, he's got a tough assignment too, right? Against Jwei, who, as we've talked about, a ton of MVPs, has been one of the best supports in the league. Honestly, you could put him up there for the best. I don't think you'd get too many arguments there. And, you know, Hung, again, is a guy that literally got benched early on in the year. Now, lucky for him, I guess, Weibo has continued to struggle a little bit. They go and bring him back. But Hung has a really important role this game because there's not a whole lot of CC coming out, right? It's the knockup from Tian. It's the Rune Prison from Xiaohu. It has to be Hung making these plays.
Exactly. I mean, hell, if your enemy team's going to run into you and you have quickness on Rakan, we take those.
Hey, listen, yep, absolutely, no doubt.
Yeah. So level 2 is going to be gained here by the bottom lane of FPX first, as they have been able to harass their opponents a lot. Kara has to be very careful. He is trading a lot of his HP here, and Xiaohu feels quite fine with the position he's quite in. Pantheon is going to make it down towards the bottom side a little sooner than Xiaohu, or Tian, but Tian's already making an entrance into mid. This ward's going to spot him out.
All right. He's going to show up. Kara's going to be forced off a little bit. He still hits level 3, not forced off of EXP. Remember that EXP range was increased earlier this year, so it'll be nice. Nice little bonus there for Kara.
Something to note as we get further into this game, because there's a Pantheon, being able to smite steal versus his champion is notoriously very difficult. The empowered Q, basically that alongside a smite makes it so his 1100, 1200 damage smite is something around like a 17, almost 1500 damage smite. So being able to get around that as an enemy jungle is going to be quite tough if FPX can get themselves into the pit. I think steal is very much on the cards. Shadow going for 5 camps. Going into not even doing his wolves, I think quite interesting. Maybe even preparing for not a dive on this wave, but potentially on the next one.
Yeah, FPX already forcing backs out of their bot lane and top lane on the side of Weibo. Breathe going to be TP-less for quite some time. We are seeing this crab get taken care of here, and it looks like Shadow will head back. He's pinging that, hey guys, I'm going to my wolves. We're seeing some warding getting done here by Xiaohu on the top side. Tian will just ward up, and he'll head back as well. So Weibo going to get everybody on full resets up.
Interesting here. You know, I just noticed some of the runes, specifically Breathe going for the Grasp in this lane. How many times is he actually going to be able to use that versus Sheer? I feel like that's a really tough rune to try to grab. You're almost never in range to auto-attack her, and it's a rune that kind of relies on you taking shorter trades versus your opponent. So maybe feeling like in a longer lane, maybe against some of the other opponents, they'd be able to get more done. But, all right. Shadow's not able to find anything in bottom side. Was staying there for a little bit and wasn't able to be spotted by a ward from Hung. Or sorry, a ward from Light. But as long as the game feels even, I think that they are, from the side of Weibo, okay with this portion of the game right now. Because again, it is about that early lane that we were kind of pressuring for them.
Yeah, and not only that, we know what Pantheon can do in the early game too. So being able to neutralize that, take some of his time, and be like, all right, you know, this is time that you're not going to actually get anything. Certainly going to help out Weibo as the game progresses. They're at least hoping that Tian will be able to get some things done in the early game. It's been relatively quiet. We haven't really seen these junglers do anything more than poke their heads out. This dragon is already up. Remember, these grubs 3 minutes away. Let's see how the teams are going to prioritize these objectives.
Awesome hasn't recalled yet. He is staying for a lot of gold right here. You've already seen that Light. He took an early recall. He got double longsword. Now he's going to be backing. He's going to have a full Warhammer. And now Sheer is TPing topside. They're making the swap here. FPX want to try to prioritize dragons. I know that we talked about, hey, in 2.5 minutes time, there'll be grubs who want to see Weibo contest for them. But I think Weibo giving themselves potential out in this game with a win condition around dragons is very, very smart for them, using some of their priority, and Weibo just wanting to dodge out on a pretty tough matchup early on.
Tian going to show up here, force Sheer back, so Sheer immediately teleports and immediately starts backing. This is not quite equitable.
Yeah, I think it was mostly just to catch the wave in case there was someone that's going to just immediately pounce on it. Obviously, like you're saying, this is a disadvantage. There will be a large discrepancy in between the two teleports from our top laners here. And just making sure that when Awesome goes up to that wave, that he has someone potentially to be there in the area. So Awesome's going to take a pretty disgusting trade. Half of his HP gone here before Jwei's even back. And with Tian on this side of the map, Shadow still has to take like 2 or 3 camps before he's level 6. We already see that Tian, despite losing the dragon, much closer to having that Crescent Guard than his opponent.
Yeah, and one thing about that trade that Awesome took is you lose so much priority off of that. You've got BF Sword. You spent all that time cultivating your gold to be able to come back with your Nico and really get priority on this top side with these grubs coming up soon. You lose a lot of that. You're allowing Weibo to go in, clear some of this vision, and then get into the jungle and take away this trade.
I think this is really smart because if they also take his Krugs, I mean, that's Shadow not having ultimate. Like, that, I think, is a huge game breaker for them. So he'll have access to this. He will get his ultimate, but I like how Weibo are playing. Use the priority, saying, look, Awesome just took a trade. Jwei just got back in. Let's have our bottom lane move into to the jungle. We also used our Ryze, who right now is feeling very good about the game, is under no threat. Doesn't have his catalyst quite yet, but this Ahri hasn't been able to get much done. We have an objective spawning in 20 seconds. Not going to be a make or break here for FPX. If they can find a win here, I feel like they're in a really good spot early on in this game.
And they have to, because the scaling on Weibo is just so damn strong. You have the Ryze, you have the Gwen. That's something that you really can't contend with unless FPX later on in the game are like, hey, we found an odd man fight and Awesome just carried it because he's playing Kai'Sa and he has a ton of items. So, you know, big risk and no contest here. That is really, really confusing, Alk.
Yeah, you know, I thought, you know, or I said earlier that the priority for FPX was going to be a little bit hard in the mid-game, just because you do have a Kai'Sa, and especially because you're not going static Shiv here, you're going for the Yuntal Wild Arrows. you're really pressed for wave control. You can use your evolved Q, but it's just not enough early on. And especially for someone like Light, he uses 1, 2 of his spells. He has a bunch of feathers that just rip through the minion wave passively. So this is really good coming in from Weibo. I think they're using their one lane of priority with the Xayah to get around the map, get some things done. Shadow takes an enemy red buff camp, but getting 3 grubs for Weibo was exactly what we wanted to see. Now, we actually do need to actually see them utilize it. Again, win more objective is the grubs, and we haven't quite seen them be able to get too much turret damage early.
Yeah, it feels like one of the scenarios where they're going to have to make a play on the side lane, and then that's when this wave will kind of be positive for them, right? You get a kill on the breathe or Xiaohu, and then life gets a lot easier. So we'll look to see in the next couple of minutes if they are able to make that play, as it looks like they might already be ready to turn up the heat. Tian and Xiaohu headed up top.
You see the pings coming on out. Jwei's not quite in the area. He should know with the Thrum Warp coming.
See ya, bro. You have no shot getting out of this one. They throw everything in the kitchen sink, and Xiaohu gets first blood.
All right, let's see these plates. It's going to be 2 immediately here. They also had a demolish block. 3 plates here immediately coming on through. Xiaohu should recall, and he'll actually even get the 3rd one.
Oh,
wow, okay,
yeah.
so it's not all that much, right? Like, it's 90 gold split between, or sorry, yeah, it's 30 gold for 4 players split 3 times, so each of them getting almost 100 each. Not bad, and getting meaningful structure damage is exactly where Weibo wanted to get. So not only did he get the first blood, which does go over onto Xiaohu, he'll have his catalyst, he gets to go right back into mid, and Weibo with a very strong early play to this game.
Yeah, that extra gold allowing Xiaohu to get his completed boots as well as his catalyst, which, I mean, with the way catalyst has been, kind of makes him a little unkillable. It feels like it'll be really hard, but we have seen a lot of Rises make some critical mistakes. And we'll see if Xiaohu can avoid them, a guy who has been one of the best to ever do it, honestly. But this season, this split has not been one of the best ever, dude. He has really, really struggled. And with that first kill, this game will be on his shoulders.
All right, well, we don't have much to talk about. There is a dragon spawning in 20 seconds. You can already see what Weibo have done. They've moved their lanes into the right position here. Teleport will be an advantage for Sheer. This is kind of that seesaw between our 2 top laners in terms of their teleport usage. Sheer used his to go top side. He ended up backing, so he ended up losing the teleport for the Gwen to be able to use it later. Now Gwen doesn't have that and will be trapped under this top side. It is also a Rod of Ages coming on through for Sheer alongside of that electrocute. So for now, it is going to be an objective that FPX are advantaged in. If you look at the lanes right now, it's going to be Care coming on first, but they're losing a massive wave bottom lane for this.
It looks like they want the fight here. Now, Xiaohu's on the weak side of the pincer, but FPX is losing out on some HP. Dragon goes the way of FPX, but here comes a big engage. Jwei not getting anything on that Pop Blossom, and now Shadow finds himself in a bit of trouble. He's forced to flash away. He's got to use his ultimate to get out of there. It ends up being a 1-for-0 for Weibo.
Okay, well now they can chase him out of the top side. They can get priority into mid. Maybe even get his get access to his respawn red buff since they know that's up because they took it. How many plays can Weibo actually get from this? They already got themselves the kill. FPX, most importantly, got the dragon. But these are real Pyrrhic victories at this point for the team.
Yeah, you're losing so much for it, right? And I commend Weibo Gaming for deciding, hey, we need to fight here. We don't really have lane advantages elsewhere. Meanwhile, Breathe, looking for a little bit of a scrap onto Sheer. Sheer will dodge out of the wind, becomes lightning. The Shadow backing him up, but this shove will continue.
Yeah, Sheer and Shadow are also very low. There is no ultimate coming on for Breathe, so it's just going to be a wave push that he's going to recall from. They got pushed in mid. Xiaohu immediately after that play went down towards bottom lane, so Care couldn't get all that much. That difference in the mid lane is starting to grow. I know we were talking about our bottom lanes, but Xiaohu already 1,000 gold up on his lane opponent here and had way better impact when it came to that fight around the dragon versus the Ahri. That's not a good sign for FPX. We wanted to see them use some of their early priority to get things done, and all they have to show for it are 2 dragons. Again, that is a win condition as long as they can stay on top of these Drake stacks.
Yeah, I love that you pointed that out because these guys have been, essentially the franchise players for both of these organizations. And they've struggled really, really hard at times, right? Xiaohu, obviously, we have these really lofty expectations of him. Not necessarily the same expectations of Care, but when you build around a guy and he is a constant, you do need to get a little bit more out of him. And 13 minutes into this game, he's level 10. I haven't seen one Ahri ultimate at all.
Oh, yeah. Care, you know, he's been a part of the roster since 2022 spring. Actually played with Hung originally. Didn't get to play with Tian, but I think the fact that we haven't, that he has been a part of this FPX organization for his entire career, including Blaze, which is their developmental roster, I think speaks to the loyalty that he's had, and also kind of him being the cornerstone of FPX mids after Doinby. So he has to, I think, pay some of that loyalty back and, you know, bring home some wins. He's been a middle-of-the-pack mid laner since his inception and kind of coming into the league. This will also be Weibo grabbing themselves first turret of the game. Let's see if Breathe can survive this. This is 3 members.
This is going to be so tough. Care finally going to drop that ultimate down. They will be able to find the kill. He will get it himself. Now they're going to look to at least trade turrets here. Tian with a nice flash with the wind becomes lightning and goes on to Shadow. Hung coming through as well. Lands the quickness onto 1. But Shadow will be able to dodge out the wind becomes lightning, but Tian will clean it up. That means Hung is going to die. Sheer teleports in. Jwei off to the side now as FPX are looking to make some plays, and they even up the kill score.
Wait, they just got 3 kills for free like that? They traded turrets and maybe even trading down here as Xiaohu has been playing the map so much better. Took the top lane tier 1, shifted into mid so that they can make this investment around the bottom side of the map. FPX, they traded a teleport coming in from Sheer. They got themselves the turret, 3 kills. That's a good equalizer coming in from them and trying to make sure that Xiaohu doesn't just run away with all of this solo gold.
All right, Care, you got your kills. You need to show up now. Let's take a look at this replay. Poor Breathe is just on an island. They're a little too late to get to it.
Yeah, just look. I mean, Zaya's nowhere in the area. It's Tian and Hung, and I will say I think that Weibo played this about as well as I think you could have. It's so unfortunate that this turret dies right as the last turret shot that is in air that would have killed Shadow dissipates. So he's no longer to be dealt damage. Xayah, he doesn't get any kill credit for this. She gets local experience. I feel like Light is kind of the biggest loser in this play. He got his entire mid wave taken by his mid laner. And then he gets nothing for coming down here.
Yeah, now, good news for him. He does have about a 40 CS lead, so he might be missing it he might be a little sad, but it's not the end of the world for him. But, you know, as AD carry players, you and I, did that happen to me? Oh, man, I'm making a chat restriction.
Exactly. All right, Breathe gets forced out. It's just Jwei and Care. They did use a lot of their ultimates for that. That was Care using the Spirit Rush while we were in the replay. We saw it in the picture-in-picture, forcing him out. Double Summoners out from Gwen, and now a Herald here for Weibo. FPX, they got mid-push. They should be able to start this Dragon, but with how the timer has been offset, Weibo now get access to the mid-wave earlier. Tian can just drop this Herald if he wants, and they could potentially open up a lot of turrets here if they so choose with the structures. Instead, wanting to fight them on this, recognizing that FPX are going to be down resources for the time being.
Feels like this is a very tenuous game here for FPX, and guess what? They gave Weibo the inside track. They didn't even start the Dragon up, so Weibo is going to go. They're going to drop the Rift Herald with their 3 grubs, and now what's FPX going to do? Are they going to just stand there and wait? We're going to see Tian get in the Rift Herald, knock down the turret. Here comes the turnaround. Is Shadow going to go in? Hung going to land the charm onto 1 member. They will easily take him out, but it ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. Now Weibo looking for a little bit more here. Care is forced away. Does have that ultimate. Needs to get that good damage. Xiaohu with the flash right on top of Care. He is able to Spirit Rush out of there, but that means that Weibo will have control and will take the Dragon.
And that is so many summoner spells as well. Jwei tried to use the heal. He used it at the wrong moment and also out of range of the Pantheon. So that's one. The Ghost from Awesome starting that fight. The flash from Care to finish it. Now FPX, that Dragon stacking is broken. They lost the mid-tier 1 or mid-tier 2. They lose out on the fight and the Dragon. So FPX starting to lose out on the map, and Weibo showing some of that expertise and showing some of the glimpses that we thought were going to come across this entire season so far, with Xiaohu having a miraculous Rise performance.
Yeah, he's been playing so good right now. As Weibo going to look to knock down this bot tier 1 turret. Sheer trying to do what he can to clear. Is going to drop the ultimate, and here comes Shadow. Pop Blossom only lands on the Hung, but they root him up and take him down. They will get Kare's TP out as well. This being a double kill after Tian went down as well.
How much more are we going to go for, though? Because Awesome, in the meantime, hits level 11, is able to hit on this mid-wave.
Uh-oh. He might be in a little bit of trouble here. He's got a flash over the wall. He's on the wrong side of the tracks, but luckily, the rest of FPX were there to back him up.
Okay. I don't think that's worth it, though. I'm going to be honest. Kaisa does have access to her own mini flash by having access to the Killer Instinct, but losing both of your summoner spells from that dragon play, not as tight. Not exactly what I wanted to see there. Nice job from Sheer to just try to focus on clearing the minion wave. Using the ultimate, clears all of these out. There's a great punish coming out from FPX, but just look at how much they use for this play. It's 3 ultimates, it's the teleport also from Care, you then eventually end up losing your flash. I feel like FPX are trading down in a lot of these instances, and not even in like a way that really inspires a lot of hope.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. The problem is they kind of have to, right? Because, again, we talked about earlier, you get outscaled. And given the fact that you're already down 2,000 gold, you haven't been able to stop Breathe. He's been able to farm up just fine, and he's in fact even in CS in this matchup where it was range versus melee. Xiaohu obviously having this incredible game right now. It just feels like it's so difficult, and you need to grasp at straws before Weibo gets too strong.
Okay. So they're trying to stop them from getting every single tier 1. A lot of focus on in this bottom lane. I think if Weibo are able to grab this with very little lost, they're feeling very, very optimistic about 230, that timer for the Dragon. As right now it's going to be FPX getting a wave in top side here. And also you think alongside that timer for the Dragon spawning, I look at Xiaohu's inventory, 3 minutes until that Rod of Age isn't completed. It's, you know, that ticking time bomb of Ryze getting closer and closer to level 16 and having all this HP, now including the feats of war or the feats of strength upgraded boots.
Yeah,
that's
so
going to be very disgusting to deal with how much magic damage this team currently has from FPX.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? Of course, because it's Merc Treads, you still get a little bit of, you know, a little bit of value if Pantheon hops on you and tries to stun you. But yeah, mostly for these 2 AP carries and even Jwei as well. So it's going to be so hard to take this guy down. And again, FPX, they really needed that 3rd dragon in order to make this game survivable for them. It feels like they're going to need Weibo to make a lot of mistakes, which is a team that has made a lot of mistakes. And even in this game, for as well as they've played, have made some mistakes.
All right, well, aside from items right now, I think that in terms of power, you are still really liking what FPX can do. They have a lot of burst. I know we haven't seen Jwei step up in the usual ways we have seen from his Nico support, but still always has that possibility of being a big game changer for his team. And all it takes is a single fight, right? Like if FPX, they find a huge Pot Blossom, they're able to get into the back line of a few members, suddenly this game looks a little bit more wary. They can take an Otacon. They could potentially even look for Dragon if that's going to be up in 3.5 minutes time. I think there's a lot of options, and the amount of possibilities that they have, especially with this Grand Starfall from the Pantheon.
Yeah, it's so hard, though, because Breathe's tier 1 turret is still up. Looks like Shadow's going to have to try to sneak in, but meanwhile, look what's going on in the mid lane. Jwei in a lot of trouble, gets knocked up, but the damage is going to be there. The clone not quite going to be enough to fool them as Tian will pick him off, and now 36 seconds till this Dragon. FPX has to do something, and it looks like they can't.
Jwei will be up in time for the Dragon. He also has Flash. Losing his heal there really sucks. So I don't know. I feel like Weibo are going to be saying, okay, well, we just got a free kill. Let's get this Otacon now. We're going to start this up. And that's a huge find from them. They even get control of mid. Maybe FPX just go towards the Baron. I know we see some of them up. Oh, sorry, there's no Baron. So it's going to be some jungle camps. Weibo are about to explode in terms of how much gold they're about to have.
Yeah, this is not worth it. And it really comes down to they weren't able to find a Breathe up top, right? Shadow wasn't able to make that impactful play and be like, hey, you know, we'll maybe force their top laner to be in an awkward spot, right? He gets off scot-free. They get the Dragon. They get the Otacon. Weibo, despite being down in kills, don't let that fool you. Even with the gold lead the way it is, they are in full control of this game.
We got 3 camps and a top lane tier 1, and we traded for a bottom lane tier 1 and an Otacon. You know, I feel like it's pretty tenuous. That is true, and the Dragon. So you gave over another Ocean Drake, so now enemy team has 2. In terms of resources, they're going to be feeling very good. We now look at all of these Rod of Ages that have started to complete. You're also getting the bonus amount of gold, or the adaptive force and experience from these Blood Petals. You are feeling very, very strong as Weibo, and potentially them looking to even look for fights. I think the only argument you might want to make is that you know, we haven't hit 3 items on our 80 carries, but Tian has an item lead right now. We haven't really seen Sheer or Care step up in this game, and Jwei is getting picked off repeatedly here, making it very difficult for FPX to ever actually find fights.
Yeah, Jwei has been suspiciously quiet. His Pop Blossoms have not been fantastic. Remember we talked about earlier, he's kind of set the bar for Nico play in the LPL so far.
Yeah.
And he's just not shown up, right? It's tough, obviously. I don't think FPX has really put themselves in good positions for him to be able to get these off. But some of the blame has to lie with him. He's a support after all.
Good. We must blame our supports. I'm glad we're learning here. Well, we're getting some setup here. You know who has been, you know, for the most part blameless this game? Hong.
Tell me. Oh,
Hong has been, he's been good. I don't want to say he's been incredible, but for a player that had a lot of criticism, and I think rightfully so, was a player to be watching for why Weibo were losing a lot of games, he's been having a fine step back into the stage and into Tier 1. So we'll see what else the Weibo squad can do, as not much for FPX to get done. I think Weibo are really smartly playing around waves and what vision they have, not overextending. I think you touched on it when Gwen was under the Tier 1. There was not really a dive opportunity for FPX to go for with this Pantheon. And so without Weibo overextending for waves, I mean, Shadow's just like, okay, well, I'm full clearing. Is there anything to do? Nope. All right, recall, buy some items, and then recall, full clear again.
Yeah, and Pantheon's one of those champions that doesn't really have great scaling, to put it mildly. The later this game goes, the worse the champion tends to get. And I love that you touched on that. Weibo's solo laners not getting picked off. It feels like it's been an epidemic in the LPL so far this year, that the side lane play has not been as great as we've seen in the past. It's been a little too over-aggressive at times. And while this is certainly measured, 2-1 and 2 combined for the both of them, I'm really proud of the way that Weibo has played. They look like a completely different team right now.
Only one game sample size. I could very realistically see FPX winning game 2. I need to see them as Weibo put together a series, and even then, right? Like, this is a team that is surprisingly their level. It's supposed to be their weight in this game here. Gare has to be showing a little bit of caution.
He did not show enough care, bro. Charm goes down. He is going to burn his ultimate. Maybe a turnaround, though, as Tian has to pop his ultimate to try to live. But Shadow gets in there. The Realm Warp gets Xiaohu a little, you know, just tries to fake them out, but he doesn't get close, actually. So FPX, they get a pick. Now Baron's up. I don't know.
This is very fake, though. They cannot contest for this. They just, again, used 3 ultimates and 3 summoner spells, right? Like, that was for a single kill onto Tian. There's no objective for them to take. They'll get maybe a top lane wave for Sheer. I feel like Sheer needs to be paying them back tenfold for what's been happening. Awesome's going to have to lose his flash. Yep. All right, Xiaohu trades his. I mean, Shadow doesn't have his summoner spells. Wonderful dodge.
Oh man, Care is just getting machine gunned down right now. Hong trying to get in there. He's going to burn his flash too, just for the knock-up onto the one, and he will find it over on the side. Sheer in trouble. Light wants a piece of the action. And FPX will be forced off. And again, Hong, nothing spectacular, but getting the dirty work done.
I mean, him and Xiaohu have been playing so well. There was so much criticism levied towards a player like Xiaohu earlier, just a few games ago in their last couple series. And his rise has looked very, very clean here in this game. So a good showing coming out from FPX. That was some ultimates used by Weibo as Breathe was chasing Sheer off, made him use his flash at the same time. So many over-investments coming in from FPX.
All right, Breathe is going to have to fight out this 2v1 right now, but he could just try to walk away if he wants. Jwei going to get in there. The Pop Blossom's going to land. Breathe not able to sustain himself through. That means Xiaohu's going to have to teleport. A lot of pings coming down onto this Baron.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like too many people are around.
I thought Weibo, you saw the investment. They were actually moving towards the dragon. They were going to try and grab their 3rd dragon of the game, but instead decided, look, we're going to put Xiaohu in TP range. We're going to have him in top side. We do not want them starting up this Baron. Between an Aurora and a Kaisa, they want 0 funny business going down. I think FPX do need to slow this game down a little bit. You are very close to having your Ahri at almost level 16 with a completed Rabadon's. Awesome has also picked up 3 items here as this Kaisa now has the Runons to be able to deal a little bit more damage to short range. I think also Awesome, you could have saved the flash there, especially because you go invisible. You would have been able to dodge out on the Rin Prison, but that's just the Baron being started. Weibo get this for free, FPX are going to trade for a dragon.
Again, they've just been trading down all game long, Alk Battery, and they do it again. Now Weibo wearing purple. Let's see if FPX can actually get anything more, and it doesn't look like they can. They don't have the full inside track, so sure, you put yourself on Soul Point, but even if you get Soul, that ain't going to help you.
Ocean Soul could be something that helps them over the line, but with how they've been playing team fights, we haven't actually even really seen one that has been properly played by FPX. And that's my worry right now, Yanni, is I look at this from FPX side and I say to myself, okay, Arari really hasn't been effective. Even the Aurora, who had an early lead up against Breathe, now has kind of evened out and hasn't really had that impact. We need to see FPX actually walk up as 5 and do something in a fight, because that's kind of like the thing that we were using to calibrate the measure of success.
Yeah. I mean, the most impressive thing that Shear's done this game is he used his ultimate to clear 4 minions to get the turret online in that bottom side fight. And I mean, you know, I hate to say it, but he, again, has not done anything, as you rightly pointed out. Now Weibo looking for full control over on this top side. This Baroned up siege minion going to go and try and knock down this turret, as Weibo quickly realized, oh, we're getting hit by the turret.
This is fine, though. You're trading turrets on the opposite side of the map. It was Hong using his ult. So, as long as they can control and potentially fight on this wave, ultimate from Care is going to recall.
Oh, Shear! Shear's got to use his ultimate to try to get out, and he does. The turret will fall, and FPX cannot get close to Weibo. They're team fighting. They just can't pull the trigger ever.
All right. Look, still, all things considered, 2 for 1 in turret trades in favor of Weibo. It's gold for the time being. We're getting into a point in the game where gold is going to matter a little less, especially with item slots being taken up, especially with how expensive these items start to be later in the game, and how gold tends to be kind of placed in different members and different roles. But control the bottom side, very important.
Shadow's just
what are
dead.
We doing?
Why? Why are we there? Weibo Gaming, pick them off, and now we'll start with the man advantage.
They were trying to get vision or maybe even position around this mid-wave so they could do something. Thankfully for FPX, it's a death that doesn't really matter because of the fact that there's really nothing to play for. Baron's going to end in 30 seconds. There's going to be a dragon spawning in 2.5, and he'll be in time for that. But Shadow thinking he could do all this damage. It's a Rakan, my brother. Like, are you going to force your Kaisa to walk on over with ult? I feel like that's a waste. Now it's just going to be free time for Weibo. They get the mid inhibitor.
Let's see if they go for the top one or they take it bottom here. Shadow up in about 8 seconds. It looks like Weibo will move bottom to go link up with Breathe. They still have this Baron, but it is going to expire. It was a nice power play for them. About 4,000 gold up. And FPX are running out of real estate quickly.
Okay. They hit 3 items. Level 16 for Care, Sheer, and Awesome. You need to win this fight now. This has to be your win fight. 1.5 before the Ocean Drake. That is the most important thing right now. Baron will be up in a minute after that. They can try to leverage the fact that they'll have won a fight. But now I'm looking at these lanes. FPX have already given up a lot of side lanes to try to make sure that they're there for an objective or just trying to get vision preemptively. The fact that they haven't taken this mid-tier one is really bothersome because they need to push on this bottom wave. Breathe is now going to catch this top lane wave, so that's going to be pushing in favor of Weibo. Even if they grab the Ocean Soul, without winning a major team fight, they're just going to be spending a lot of it sitting under their base and kind of waiting for either another Baron or even maybe the Elder.
All right, let's see if FPX can make this play. Breathe going to smartly just clear out those minions and walk away. You cannot get picked off at this stage in the game. Alk Battery, you said it, we're still waiting for FPX to fight. It feels like any attempt at a large fight has been half-hearted at best, and they really need to make something happen. Care on 3 items. He's got Rabadons as one of them. Awesome. Probably not going to make it to that 4th item before this dragon, but a 3-item Kaisa, still very scary. As again, FPX going to show numbers up on this top side. I don't think you're going to get anything for it.
Oh, Hung with this massive flank,
this is so sick. Oh, no. Oh, wait, he missed the charge. Okay, he does land the knockup, but Xiaohu really can't get close. Hong misplaying hard there. The game he's largely played okay.
Well, I mean, now FPX are just late to this, right? Like, I think the identity from FunPlus Phoenix was that, okay, we're going to push on top lane for one more wave, we're going to get Breathe to kind of sit under his turret, and then we're going to hopefully reconnect with the rest of our team in the blue side jungle of Weibo so that we can move into mid and stop these inhibitor minions, or these super minions from crashing into our base. I mean, it was a great flank from Weibo, and they did eventually push FPX off this mid wave, but it's only a turret. Now we're going to 7 dragons in this game. FPX, they want to give themselves as much time in this game to try to play this one out. There's now a Baron spawning in 30 seconds. Hey, we thought maybe there wouldn't be a third item coming on through for Awesome. He's finally finished that, and there's even a Guardian Angel here for Shadow.
Yeah, you know what? A bit harder for them to kill, and now Weibo, they still have to be worried. You know, if one of them gets picked off, FPX, they have enough items that they will be able to scrap with a man advantage despite this hard scaling Weibo comp. And Weibo, they've been really, really quiet ever since the Baron did okay, but they haven't done enough to take FPX out of the game fully.
I'm kind of looking at this right now, man. Weibo, they get pushed in mid just by having the super minions, right? Like, Shadows doesn't matter, bro. If they were, okay, you stole the red buff. You got your team global red buff. Great. But
nice.
You're still so much fog of war here.
All right.
Observers were toggling it before, and they're doing it here again. There is no vision. Kara's gonna have to TP for this play. I mean, this Baron should be going down. It's already dead.
Yeah, they have to get in really quickly. Knockup is gonna be there. Hong doing a great job keeping Shadow out. And they will be able to get their Rakan out of there too. Now FPX really want to get in, but a Realm Warp, it leaves Tian behind! They left Tian behind to die, but he stands tall and kills Awesome. Jwei gonna get in there, Pop Blossom on 2. Tian is still alive, but he finally falls. And over on the backside, Sheer has to run away. Jwei has to run away, but he can't as they take him out too. And a teleport onto the mid lane from Xiaohu.
They're going to try and end the game here. Light is searching. Light will find Sheer. Teleports are finishing. It is going to be a Baron here for Xiaohu. He has 3 grubs. His team is going to reinforce him on this next mid lane wave. FPX, it is 20 seconds before the next available member is going to be up to defend the base.
It's not possible. Care has gone golden. He flashes away. The first turret will fall. Shadow's got a flash too, but his GA gets popped. Care in the fountain, and the Nexus will fall. Weibo Gaming finally get their fight win and take game 1.
Tian's gonna be like, dude, did you just leave me there with the Baron? All right, man, whatever, fine.
He's like,
you know
I'll do it myself.
We won the game. I guess it doesn't matter. I'll just have to, you know, I'll just accidentally spill a drink next time. It's fine. Just better map play from Weibo. FPX showing up late to objectives, not prioritizing the right side of the map. I feel like constantly over-indexing to try to make something happen on to Breathe. And I think a large portion of this game came down to the side lanes. We talked about it during the draft. We're like, okay, it's tough as a team that has Ryze and Gwen to kind of ever get caught, but also with this Pantheon, if you ever do overextend, you're going to get found with multiple members on your side of the map. We actually ended up seeing that play very, very much in favor of Weibo, as Breathe and Xiaohu both paying so much respect to the fact that FPX could potentially find picks.
Yeah, they played so smart, and you know, for Shadow, wasn't able to really do anything this game, right? I mean, we talked about how, like, hey, is Tian going to be able to shut him down? And it felt like it was the rest of Weibo. Weibo very intelligently saying, we're not going to let Pantheon beat us in the early game. We're not going to let him beat us in the mid game while we're split pushing either. And it was a nice, measured game. Sure, it wasn't perfect. You know, they really should have won this game a little while ago, in my opinion. They definitely were not super sharp in their late game, but hey, maybe that is a byproduct of them kind of being disadvantaged by this time in the game in prior series. Haven't really been able to flex that muscle too much.
I just loved that we got an actual performance from Xiaohu that wasn't miserable to watch.
Proud of this guy.
Still have questions about Hong being substituted in this game. Started off well enough, but started getting a little stinky. There was there was airs of manure coming on through. Hopefully that is cured for game number 2 and potentially game number 3. But you know, it was in the room with us. Not necessarily in front on the table, but somewhere in the room. There was a couple accidents going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know you were such a crap connoisseur. I know that you've had to cast a lot of the lower tier games this year. You got assigned a couple of NIP games, so maybe that's why your palate is so
Leave.
refined.
I will never disparage that team. So I love Leave. You do no wrong in my eyes for now.
Take a look at some of the stats here. Hung in his return, highest KP. Again, it wasn't great. Again, we talked about how he did a lot of the dirty work. That's where the manure came from, I guess.
Yeah. I like what we got to see coming in from Weibo. FPX, man, not to say that this wasn't expected, because they have been quite atrocious on map play. Their big strength has always been, like, we're going to try and team fight you. Very similar to Ninjas in Pajamas in that way, but just so much going wrong for them. I feel like this Aurora never really got anything done, and that's kind of, a two-parter, like a double whammy, the draft and then also the setup in game. I know that there was a big talk about the coaching staff change coming in for FPX between Split 1 and Split 2 and kind of the revitalization of this roster actually performing. But Shadow at the helm, too many of these like random burger flip fights where we're just trying to make a pick, try to explode one member. Again, this Aurora just did absolutely nothing this game.
Yeah, and I think that is a big contributor as to why their team fights weren't fantastic, right? I mean, you saw that one at the end. Like, sure, you went all in, you landed a nice Pop Blossom as Jwei, but you weren't even really able to kill Tian, right? And that, it just goes to show that regardless of you having the Aurora and that extra damage, that damage still wasn't there. Probably would have been better served to maybe have another champion with a lot of CC, another tank up top. And I mean, it's something that's been a little weird for Sheer. At times he's been able to play some of these carries, but other times he's looked pretty good on some of these guys that you can weak side. Like, he did play a lot of Scion. So, it's unfortunate, but FPX are going to have to go back to the drawing board.
All right, and with this win, Weibo have at least kept themselves in contention to play for 6th place, which, again, very important. 6th place, they're going to be playing against the 2nd seed of Group Nirvana in play-ins. So that race for 6 still on the cards for WE, FPX, and Weibo now. Making sure that that's at least a competitive race, because, a 3-horse race is always a little bit more fun to watch. Yep, there's Tian. He's like, dude, how the hell did I not get into that realm warp? All right, fine, man.
Yeah, you can see he was walking away. We've already talked about...
Okay. All right.
We can save the leave love for a little bit later. We can leave that on the table for now. But yeah, it's just so crazy that he was able to live through that fight. And again, I love your point about a 3-horse race near the end. We weren't sure what Week 8 was going to look like even a couple of weeks ago. We were like, hey, some of these matchups might be a little non-competitive, might just be going through the motions. But really, we have a 4-game slate that, at least for the first 2 days, will be really exciting. Maybe the excitement will taper off as we get to the last 2 days, and it'll just kind of be games. But, right now, this is really all you could ask for out of the end of the regular season.
Yeah, FPX are playing their next series against IG tomorrow. And we're going to be very quickly wrapping up not only our broadcast, but, just the rest of the bracket. Because we have, after this, there's 3 days left of series. We also haven't really talked about MVP for this game. I think hopefully it goes to Xiaohu. There's been so much criticism. I think there was a lot of question marks as to whether or not he was going to be able to perform. And there you go, rightful owner of that MVP spot here for game number 1.
Yeah, and with Xiaohu, he's either been the reason why they're winning or the reason why they're losing. This just felt different than some of the other wins that they've had. This one felt different to me. I can't explain it. He just looked much sharper.
With him getting this MVP, by the way, he actually is now tied for 3rd place with Jackie Love, Jwei, and Shun. I know we had that graphic a little bit earlier, but now he is tied at 9. For the season, so very good job. I know it said 12 on there because that's also including placements, which would mean that he's actually tied with Tarzan in 2nd if you're including that. But numbers get a little bit funky, and we've got a break ahead of us.
Yeah, he's been good in the wins, and you know who else has been good? Our coffee and our YouTube subscribers. You guys are the bomb. You guys help us level up the show A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a large part of the payments pay on-air talent and our content creators. If you subscribe to our coffee, which will be linked in the chat, you'll unlock early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for unique on-site interviews. We're going to kick it to a short break, and when we return, you'll know about MOBA Trainer if you haven't heard of it before. See you soon.